The signals you're seeing, they're all primates. Holy crap.
There are no known primates here. There's something really out there.
Something really out there. This could be a Bigfoot.
When it comes to searching for the legendary cryptid that is Bigfoot, you may find that many have dedicated their lives to this cause, as they have hoped to dismiss the demeaning notion that anyone who believes in this creature is just holding on to a fantasy of some sort. To be honest, who could blame them for having such an opinion on the existence of Bigfoot? For many years now, all we have to show for the existence of this creature are some strange photos and videos that are circumstantial at best. That is alongside the anecdotal accounts that have been given by those who believe that they have come across this creature at some point in their lives. With that in mind, we have to give some kudos to those who have dedicated their lives to the search for this elusive fabled creature. After all, many in the scientific community do not take this search for Bigfoot seriously. Relegated to the status of pseudoscience, we all know how many of such scientists and researchers dismiss the evidence that has been presented in favor of the argument that Bigfoot exists so far. As such, it is somewhat valiant to see people like Dr. Mireya Mayor, the well-respected primatologist, anthropologist, conservationist, science communicator, author, educator, and perhaps most importantly, Bigfoot hunter and enthusiast.
Ross, there are multiple huge heat signatures directly across from me. They're walking across the forest and it almost looks like they're poking their heads around the tree.
Without people like her dedicating her life to the search for the legendary cryptid, we, along with the cast of the Expedition Bigfoot documentary series, may not have gotten as far as they have already. It's actually amazing because when you think about her interesting background, you will actually be left in awe as to how far she had actually come to become the well-respected primatologist and explorer that we all know and love today. Think about it. This was a woman who was once an NFL cheerleader. Looking at it now, the contrast between what she was and what she eventually grew up to be has actually developed into something that has become a sore point of contention when you look at her career. After all, although she is well known for her dedication to conservation, something that has been well evident in her work with endangered lemurs in Madagascar, her work looking for the legendary cryptid on the Expedition Bigfoot documentary series has attracted as much respect as it has the ire of those who refuse to believe in the existence of Bigfoot. Those in the scientific community just couldn't look past the status of the search for Bigfoot as that of pseudoscience. Regardless of this, there is no denying that despite the diverse nature of Mayor's career, she has had to make a lot of changes while enduring a whole host of challenges, as she sought to navigate her way through being in the public eye while also attempting to gain some credibility in the academic world. How did she make her way from her humble beginnings to being the one among several others to take on this challenge to bring Bigfoot out of the shadows?
Guys, what is that? Please? What is that? I'm just gonna move a little bit away from it and come back to it. There it is. It's right on the water's edge, and the signature is getting bigger.
She may still be on the task, but as you will see, it was not an easy feat. Dr. Mireya Mayor, Origins. Listening to how it all began for Dr. Mayor, you can tell that a lot had to happen for her to even become the beloved cast member of Expedition Bigfoot. For starters, did you guys know that she was the daughter of Cuban immigrants? Once her parents settled in Miami, they had their darling little girl in 1973. She was raised by her mother, a nurse, along with her aunt as well as her grandmother. Noticing that they had a talented young woman on their hands, young Mireya grew up taking piano and ballet lessons. Far cry from the female Indiana Jones that she is known as today. Interestingly enough, her mother didn't even allow her to join the Girl Scouts because she thought it was too dangerous. That said, there wasn't much that Mama could do because while she did love these artistic and energetic endeavors, she actually did have a love for these animals growing up. Dr. Mireya herself has told us how she had always loved animals. To be honest, it was almost as though she didn't really have a choice, seeing as her childhood home always seemed to be filled with animals of all sorts. Apparently, it was pretty much like a zoo, as all sorts of creatures such as cats, dogs, and birds could be found all over the place when she was a kid. There was even a pet chicken named Margarita in the mix. As if that house wasn't filled up with enough animals already, Dr. Mayor also told us that she even went on to collect all sorts of creepy crawlies and lizards as she grew up. Funny enough, it would still take some time for her to realize that observing and studying these animals will be something she would do for the rest of her life. Going forward, though, it seemed that she eventually came out of her shell in order to pursue the things she loved. Once she was done with high school, she went on to the University of Miami, where she got her bachelor's degree in anthropology and philosophy. This was also the same place where she became a cheerleader for the NFL Miami Dolphins. Ever the brilliant student, she was somehow able to manage to gain her PhD in anthropology from Stony Brook University in New York in 2008, while also becoming a Fulbright scholar, one of several United States cultural exchange programs, as well as a National Science Foundation Fellow. Career with National Geographic and conservation work in Madagascar. With such credentials coming into play, it seemed as though she was ready to take on the wonders that nature had to offer in this world of hers. In fact, she has even stated that it was during her study of anthropology that she discovered her desire to pursue the study of primates.
The idea of pursuing that dream is very important to me, whether that's their dream or any other. I think they need to know that they can do whatever they want, and hopefully I'm setting that example for them.
With that in mind, she would push on to chase a career as an Emmy Award-nominated wildlife correspondent for the National Geographic Channel. This allowed her to carry out extensive work with wildlife, as she got to explore some of the most remote and most beautiful parts of the world, studying these animals in their element. This saw her visit places from the savannas in Africa to some of the densest rainforests in the Amazon. Before long, she found that her research has focused on the critically endangered lemur species. Also known as the mouse lemur, these are a group of primates that seem to only be found in Madagascar. This made sure that she was always out there taking part in a wide range of activities, some of which involved field research on lemur behavior and ecology, while also working hand in hand with the local communities in order to develop sustainable conservation strategies that will keep these animals in existence. While advocating for the increased protection of lemur habitats in Madagascar, she became one of the key figures in the country to raise awareness about the threats that these lemurs face as they battle to remain in existence. We are talking about threats such as deforestation, illegal logging, as well as the trading of these animals in the black market. Thanks to this role, the whole world got to see Dr. Mayor's work firsthand. Thanks to her role as a host and a correspondent with National Geographic, she was able to show us what the natural world had to offer us back home. She did this by being at the forefront of many documentaries and shows, some of which include History Channel's Expedition Africa, as well as Discovery Channel's Expedition Bigfoot. As such, the whole world knew that they were dealing with one of the most astute and professional hosts and correspondents out there. That said, such high regard would begin to come under question when she decided to take on the task of bringing the legendary cryptid that is Bigfoot to light. The legend that is Bigfoot. As we have hinted earlier on, many of us have been so fascinated with this cryptid that they have been searching for this creature for more than 100 or so years now.
Squatch has retained the more primitive characteristic of a very flexible instep, a midfoot flexibility, which can be seen here.
Much of this search has taken place in continental North America, with a good chunk of the effort focusing on the Pacific Northwest. In order to find this creature, many people have gone through many measures to do this. They have tried to use their cameras to record this creature in its element, but so far, no good, if you will. As Dr. Mireya Mayor and her peers will tell you, till today, we haven't been able to track this creature down. Instead, all we have are those dubious photos and videos that cause even more doubt when it comes to the belief that this hairy bipedal cryptid is somewhere out there. In fact, there are many accounts of this search for this legendary cryptid that made it even more difficult to believe that this creature is truly out there lurking in one of the many forests in North America. Just look at one of the many anecdotal tales in which people claim that they had actually hunted Bigfoot down. Back in the day, in the 1920s, when the settlers looked to make a home out of the land found in the Pacific Northwest, a man believed to be known as Fred Beck and a crew of loggers decided that they were going to make some profit out of working on the land they found themselves on. They had already found a ton of success working in the gold-laden forests that surround Mount St. Helens. As they ventured into the woods, they had all the tools they needed to evade competitors, while also protecting them from the creatures that may look to harm them while they were out in the wild. Unfortunately, though, they would find that they were not so prepared to face everything that was out there. Before long, though, the men were left confused by this massive footprint that they found in the forest as they pushed on with their work. As you can imagine, this was a lot for them as they were looking at what seemed to be a massive human footprint. They would have hoped it was a bear after all. That was the only thing that they believed could be massive enough to leave such a footprint. However, as it seemed to be too similar to that of a human being, they knew that they had to keep on guessing as to who or what may have left such a huge footprint behind.
Oh my, look at this. Holy look at that. That is a footprint.
As they were trying to figure out what could be responsible for this, the men were startled by the sound of some weird whistling that came out of nowhere. This whistling kept on going as though someone or something was trying to communicate with them. They initially thought maybe something was even trying to scare them away, but because of all the money they could make out there, they decided that they would not be going anywhere. Not until they get all the money they came out there for. This sentiment would change when Fred Beck and one of his men went back into the woods to proceed with their work, only to run into a really strange creature that was hiding in the bushes. Looking to be large and hairy at 7 feet tall, they noticed its other strange features such as its pointy ears. Looking at it, they were not sure if this was a man or a monster. Instead, they started to wonder if this could be the creature that was making the strange whistling noise the other day. Not wanting to discover if it was also dangerous the wrong way, Fred's colleague shot the creature as many times as it could. However, the creature was able to get away before the pair could capture it. Convenient, right? Well, that was most likely what the rest of Fred's crew thought when Fred came back to tell them what he and his man had just seen while they were out there. As you can understand, the others struggled to believe this. They were more inclined to believe that this was some bear or monster that the men had shot while they were out there. They were even more inclined to believe that there was an even better chance that they had shot a man.
I got a flash
Of eye shine.
peeking around that tree right there.
With such thoughts in mind, they all agreed that it was best for all of them to get out of those woods as quickly as possible. Even though they had to endure one more frightening night in such a place, even having to endure some sort of attack from a group of these creatures, they would never be able to confirm if it was indeed Bigfoot. This is just one of many stories that leave the mystery of Bigfoot as one that persists to this day. This is why people like Dr. Mireya Mayor and her peers are working hard to bring this mystery to an end. Expedition Bigfoot. With that being said, it was never going to be easy going forward when she decided to take on this gig to be one of the cast members of Expedition Bigfoot. As we all know, this is the reality TV show that premiered on the 8th of December 2019 by the Travel Channel. This was all done so that they could follow a team of researchers, such as Dr. Mayor, as they went out into various locations all over North America in order to investigate any evidence they could find so that they could prove that Bigfoot is real. This is no joke either, as these experts and researchers were not concerned about the opinion of those who would come out to disregard their work. Dr. Mireya Mayor and those who would go on to work with her for several years on the show would be more concerned about making use of all the advanced tech and equipment that they will have at their disposal as they push on with this quest. We're talking about advanced tech such as traditional and modern-day tracking methods, advanced tech as well as data analysis techniques. In order to get to the bottom of these mysteries, these people went further and deeper than any have ever gone before. All this was done with the hope that they could gather all the evidence they could find so that they could document the existence of this creature. With that, they could finally hush all the naysayers who are hell-bent on making sure that this creature forever remains a myth to us all. As valiant as this effort may be, we have already hinted at this earlier on, but the extensive research and exploration of the wild in order to bring Bigfoot into existence has been something of a blow to Dr. Mireya Mayor's career.
I don't know. I've never heard anything like that.
After all, it is believed to be the main source of the most significant criticism when it comes to the good doctor. In fact, there are others who claim that this is the turning point for her, and perhaps the others who put their reputation at risk by signing up to join the Expedition Bigfoot team. As we have already mentioned earlier on, the search for Bigfoot and everything else concerning this fabled cryptid is something of a red flag with the scientific community. As such, many of these scientists have taken the opinion that all this is pseudoscience, and according to them, if it lacks the methodological rigor of most sciences, while also leaning towards substantiated claims, then they did not want to have any part of it. To make matters worse, many of these scientists have taken Dr. Mireya's participation in the show as a betrayal of scientific principles, and as such they think they have cause to question her credibility among the academics. The downside. As a result of this turning point when it comes to Dr. Mireya's public perception, she found that she suddenly became the subject of public scrutiny. Yay, other members of the Expedition Bigfoot team face some sort of public scrutiny, but it just seemed that a good chunk of this was saved for the good doctor. It even seemed like a good percentage of it just came from the fact that she was a woman. As a result, much of the scrutiny has come across as personal attacks to the point where it has been seen as mostly unfair. For starters, they weren't above taking jibes at her appearance and the fact that she was once a cheerleader for the NFL Miami Dolphins.
Saw what appeared to be eye shine reflected off the flashlight. It's almost as if something is watching us from above.
They even thought they had something to comment on due to what they perceived was her lack of seriousness when it came to her media engagements. In the end, although the search for Bigfoot has been considered to be a joke, the attacks on Dr. Mayor can sometimes come off as the issues that we complain about when we talk about the underlying gender biases and societal expectation about what we think women in science should do and be seen as they present themselves to the rest of the world. Indeed, it just shows what the women in STEM, that is the science, tech, engineering, and mathematics industries face. For too long, these women have been judged by their professional accomplishments and their compliance to traditional gender roles. If anything, now that we're here, we might as well use this opportunity to highlight how Dr. Mayor's experience does show us how important it is to deal with the systemic biases that may be found in the STEM industries as well as society as a whole. Personal life. With all these issues plaguing her professional life and credentials as she pushes on to be taken seriously, Dr. Mayor has been able to maintain something of an enviable personal life. This is something you can tell that she worked hard to achieve because she herself appreciated how women in her field find it difficult to have a family. Indeed, she also stated that she knows many of her colleagues who even had to delay having a partner and children so that they can have career goals of their own. Well, fortunately, she was able to overcome this challenge much like she did with many others during the early days of her career. For starters, she had 5 kids with her first husband. Unfortunately, that relationship came to an end, but before long she was able to find love again when she came across Phil Fairclough, a well-known television executive in the industry. Together, the pair would add 1 more kid to the family, thereby making Dr. Mayor a mother of 6. To be honest, it seems as though she feels blessed to be in such a position. After all, many people around her thought that she would not be able to pull this off. Even her mom thought that it would be too difficult for her to be a mother and a primatologist at the same time. After all, how much time would an adventurer have for their kids? Well, when the first daughter came to the world, Dr. Mayor had to make the choice between her career and her children. Well, thankfully, Dr. Mireya chose both, and now she gets to benefit from the joy of balancing being a mother with being one of the chosen people to reveal evidence that Bigfoot truly does exist out there, somewhere in one of the many woods and forests found in North America. If anything, if she isn't doing it for all of us, she is doing it for her children, as she wanted them to know that it was possible for them to be all they could be in this world of ours. With that in mind, we can see how Dr. Mireya Mayor has to navigate her way through a truly difficult line in the career choices that she made. While she may have achieved a lot of good things while working on projects such as the preservation of the mouse lemurs, the work with the Expedition Bigfoot team has raised eyebrows when it comes to her legacy. Despite everything, we can see how if she and her team don't succeed in bringing this creature out of hiding, she may have at least paved the way for many women in her shoes to find success in the future. With that being said, there is still every chance that she and the Expedition Bigfoot team will bring an end to the legend that is Bigfoot.